Okay, a little bit of a change of pace now. On Tuesday this week, it was the most special day of the year, or for me anyways, and that is Anzac Day. It's always a solemn occasion. Of course, generally followed by a bit of fun, that is the Australian way, right? A beer and two up with your mates. But most importantly, it's an opportunity to reflect, to acknowledge and to thank all of those Australians who have fought for this country, particularly those who never came home. I was lucky. Dad served overseas multiple times, retiring as a Major General. He always came home, no matter how evil the enemy. But there was one that even with all the incredible strength, fight and courage he had, that even he couldn't beat, and that was cancer. And it took Dad from us earlier this year. He was a sitting senator and a favourite amongst a lot of you, I know. In fact, the most voted for individual politician in this nation's history. It was Dad's birthday a little bit earlier this month, and a week later, our first Anzac Day without him. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time this afternoon paying tribute to him, even though I know that he would hate it. He'd say, "It's not about me, Ern." He called me Ern. But on this occasion, Dad, it is. I've got his former Duntroon classmate coming on in just a minute or so. But first, I wanted to share this really quite personal and special video clip with you. Last year, as he did every year on the 25th of April, Dad marched. I had work and it was a logistical nightmare. You guys all know how it is. Something I almost put in the too hard basket. But I'm so glad that I didn't. He'd started to become quite unwell at that stage. So I took my then 3-year-old daughter Eliza to Queanbeyan to surprise him and Mum, to stand beside him at the dawn service and to watch him march, desperately hoping that it wouldn't be for the last time.
Who is this? Claire, how are you part of this?
And as we all know, it was the last time. And Dad's not an emotional person, he never has been, but he did shed a tear at that moment, and that was really, really special. Roger Powell was just a teenager when he and my dad began their army careers at Duntroon. He gave the military eulogy at Dad's funeral. He did it absolutely brilliantly, and he joins me now. Roger, it is a really special week for all Australians, but a hard one for our family, the first one without Dad. You were incredibly close to Dad, and I wanted to touch base with you and pay tribute to him on what was the most special day of the year for him as well.
Actually, this morning before we had a chat, I reread the tribute that we gave to Jim at his funeral, and there was a bit of a tear in my eye. It's been a busy week for all of the veteran community, and obviously given that Jim's birthday was on the 11th of April, and he was married at Easter time. Must be a hard time for your family as well.
No, you're right, Roger. It really has been a rough couple of months, a rough start to the year for us, and I know for a lot of other people as well. You've had an incredible career in the forces. You reached the rank of Major General. I'd love to know what kind of soldier Dad was, and particularly as a youngster, because you spoke so beautifully about him as a teenager at the funeral, and I'd love to give my audience, who I know adored him as well, a bit of an insight into what he was like as a 17, 18-year-old cadet at Duntroon.
Well, he was well liked. He was one of these affable, engaging, gangly puppies that we all were at the time, and was always thoughtful in terms of making friends and making people feel good about themselves. He was incredibly dedicated. He was hardworking. He was smart. He topped the tactics. He got the tactics prize as a young cadet. Everything that he did was had a touch of class about it. He was not only good at his soldiering skills, he was a great sportsman as well. He won the best and fairest as a young footballer. We won 2 premierships, and a lot of the success was due to his ability as he developed and matured and became a strapping young ruckman. So one of his classmates said that if he hadn't been a soldier, he probably would have played for his beloved Essendon, and it was probably not too far from the mark.
Now, it was obviously the wrong code though, Roger.
I'm not sure about that.
Now, what about Mum? You were around when Dad met Mum, Anne, and they fell in love as teenagers as well, and we think it's one of the greatest love stories. What was he like with ladies early on? Well,
you might recall at his funeral, I said, Anne, I won't tell you about the car behind Ackblock. We were both had girlfriends who had married and have had wonderful marriages with over many, many years. And Rhonda and Anne were great mates. When Jim was a cadet, I noticed from his RMC report that he had 13 stoppages of leave in his last year, his fourth year. And as I recall it, the only time you got stoppages of leave was if you'd been away or not back on Sunday nights when you should have been. And I'm sure those 13 stoppages of leave were directly due to them having that extra kiss before he came home.
Oh, he would kill me if he could hear this right now, and hopefully he's up there watching. He'd also kill me if I made this all about him, Roger. So I'd love to ask you, Anzac Day generally, why is it such a special occasion in this country? And as a veteran, what do you think about the way the younger generation are paying tribute and honouring?
Oh, Erin, I'm just so impressed with the way that Australians have embraced this special day in the year that veterans congregate. I, for the first time, marched in Sydney this year, and I saw people I hadn't seen for 20 years. And the crowds along the streets during that march just gave me a real feel for how young Australians in particular and the multicultural nature of Australia now, and how many faces were along both sides of the street clapping and honouring veterans. So very special day for us all, and one that I think we're very proud to see so many Australians embrace in the way they do in the small communities right across the country. Everybody honours our diggers, which is just terrific.
Yeah, that's so lovely. I've got to be honest with you, Roger. I spoke earlier about surprising Dad last year, and on Tuesday this week I set my alarm. I got up, I got dressed, and I couldn't face it this year, but I will definitely get back out there next year because it's something that's really important to me and it's really important to pay tribute. But I want to thank you so much for spending a bit of time with us here. I know you're incredibly busy, for sharing some stories about Dad, and on a personal note for the friendship that you provided him over all the years, but particularly the past couple of years when things were really tough. It meant a lot to him. So thank you to you and Rhonda for your beautiful friendship to Dad.
Thank you, Erin. You take care and lots of love.